All right, I don't have a lot of time. My flight to LA to play PoE 2 tomorrow is just in a few hours, but I wanted to get this out to you guys before I left because I hit a real nice stopping point for actual league start setup that I want to share with you guys, particularly the people that are trying out the build already and you want to have like an end goal to say, hey, this is like my league start setup and really evaluate what it's going to feel like. Also, I keep forgetting, for the people that haven't seen all the previous videos, this is a series of me trying to figure out a league starter. You know, no guide before the patch notes, but figuring out what my league starter is going to be, assuming it doesn't get nerfed in the patch notes, and we don't get any amazing surprises in the patch notes. And so what I have figured out that I want to go for is a Ball Lightning of Static self-cast Hierophant. And it's been a journey. It's been really fun. Of course, huge thank you to all you guys that have been following along. It's really been a blast making these videos with you guys. Yesterday, no video because I kind of went in the build hole again and just started kind of tinkering a little bit because the previous kind of, I don't know, uncomfortable stuff that we were kind of bumping into was the balance between offense and defense and really figuring out on a budget, really, what are we going to be aiming for on, you know, in a league start scenario. And so what I have for you guys here is kind of my, I don't know, we can say end of week 1 estimate for, you know, for a moderately intermediate player. Who knows? I don't know. Like, evaluate whether you think you can get these items. But I think these are all pretty reasonable items that it feels pretty good. So we're just going to go straight to POB here. I'm actually going to make it a little bit bigger for you guys because there are some complaints about the size here. So we'll just do this real quick. What I have here is a setup. This is, you know, the same build that I had before. Which is a Mind Over Matter Ball Lightning of Static, like I said, Hierophant. And I tried to put in as reasonable items as I could while trying to keep the damage at a reasonable level, right? You can go all into damage, you can go all into defense. And what we have here is something that feels really, really good. The items in here are not perfect, or, you know, some of them might be a little bit more expensive, a little bit nicer than you expect. Some of them might be worse than you expect. It's just like, you know, what I ended up with after kind of experimenting here. So what we're doing here is we're doing, I got to make sure it's still on the screen because we're so zoomed in. We're still Elemental Overload. We're still doing non-crit. As long as you've crit in the last 8 seconds, you get a 40% more damage multiplier. We are going into low life with Pain Attunement, and we are just generally stacking as much mana as possible. Mana, as well as getting a little bit of life. The kind of fun thing that I'm doing here is I am going into block and using that because we have a very large raw life pool right here. That does look pretty blurry. Hopefully you guys can read that, but hopefully it's better than, you know, being zoomed out. Our raw life pool, we have 7,500 energy shield and then 1,100 life behind that energy shield. We are leeching both energy shield and life, and then we have decent block values as well as ES recover on spell block. So we have like pretty good recovery here. We have very good mana regen. The other thing is we do have Mind Over Matter through the Cloak of Defiance, as well as an additional 10% on the Mind Over Matter through the Divine Guidance notable right here. Got to figure out exactly where where you guys can see it on the screen. So we do have 50% of damage is taken from mana before life. So this is also particularly good because we're using the Energy Shield Mastery. It is on the screen. The Energy Shield Mastery for 30% of chaos damage does not bypass Energy Shield. So this combined with the Mind Over Matter allows us to still have a pretty good chaos damage max hit. And we're still resilient against chaos damage despite being low life without a Core Scaling Elixir or Ivory Tower, which is kind of the difficult thing to solve right here while trying to get low life. So yeah, the setup right here is on a wand, you just want mana regen, int, spell damage, stuff like that. A Prism Guardian, we're using this to reserve auras and defensive mana reservation against our life. This is how we get low life, and just this item is expensive for the first couple days of a league, but it drops really, really quickly. Aura bots want to buy that because they're just doing group play, right, the first couple days of a league, but that price will drop very, very quickly to like 30 to 50 chaos a couple days into the league. It'll spike to like a few divines really early, but then it drops really, really quickly. Also, this build needs dexterity really, really bad. So this is an incredible, also res, incredible unique for us. Mind Spiral is by far best in slot. Big mana, damage taken is mana. Enemies can't leech mana from you, which is, you know, okay, I guess. And then the big thing is 15% of mana as max energy shield. If you look at my ES 7,500, if I take this off, I go down to 5,400. We get over 2,000 energy shield from just putting on the Mind Spiral. This thing's incredible. Cloak of Defiance, this one is corrupted with a little bit of damage on it. It's just the one that I have in League right now. This gives us mana regen, and free mind over matter. Just really, really good. And we are also using Grace going into evasion. So really big evasion and energy shield. Raw is just incredible. The alternative that we're looking at is Ivory Tower, but I really think that's like the higher investment, crit, high damage setup. I think for defense and just comfort early on, Cloak of Defiance is really, really good, although it is technically more rare than the Ivory Tower. Ivory Tower is okay. Like, we could even still use this if we really wanted to. It's totally viable. We could put it on right now, and it would be fine. So you don't need the Cloak of Defiance, but if we're going into evasion, this is pretty nice, and I do really like it. Gloves, unnerve, exposure, that's it. Nothing fancy on the gloves. Boots, we have cooldown recovery rate as well as scorched ground, really nice. And then you're just crafting energy shield, mana, res, and intelligence on all of our items. So really, really easy. This amulet, I very annoyingly crafted. This is borderline a perfect amulet. I annoyingly crafted this. Can I show this without changing? Oh, this is really hard to, let me see. Let's see if I put it in my stash, you can see it is all tier 1 modifiers. I hit this in like 5 essences. It was really, I don't want something this good to, obviously, for showing off League Start stuff, but this is your perfect amulet that you want to go for. Basically exactly perfect. You want to hit it with Essence of Misery, and then you're just going to go for int, res, spell damage. Evasion rating's really good when we're running Cloak of Defiance and all that. Energy shield is really good, but the key is we want to get as much mana regen as possible. You can see I'm getting 157% mana regen from this amulet by itself, which is really, really good. However, if you don't want to craft something, you can use something like Aziri's Foible, Voice of the Storm, or even an Astramentus are also very, very good options. Foible will give you more raw mana, which is really nice. So, whichever you're looking for. This is if you're going to craft up something really good. This is what you're going to go for. Sorry, I recognize that some stuff is not showing on the screen all the time right now. We're just trying to go really quick. Let's see, what else? Chevron's Revelation. This is a great ring. You want to put that in your left ring slot. We get really big flat energy shield, as well as a little bit of mana regen, which is really nice. I get 1300 energy shield from this ring by itself. Really, really good. Dream Fragments, really cheap, easy free ring. Max mana regen, can't be chilled or frozen. We get that ailment immunity, really nice. Just a regular whatever belt right here. I'm using a Rumi's Concoction, which is actually just really solid overall for us. We are going into block. We have a very large raw life pool right here, and Rumi's is just so big for comfort. As long as you're not dying to 1-shot, 2 or 3-shot, because we have such a big life pool, such good recovery, just getting that additional block actually makes a very nice, gives us a nice buffer actually. 25% increased EHP actually from this Rumi's. Really good cheap option actually. And then you can look at the other flasks as you want. This is an example of a jewel that you want to go for. Really easy, nice. There's no damage mods or anything. Int, life, and mana, really, really good for us. You can see it gives us really good across-the-board stats for the build. Something like that. Pure Talent, I explained it in a previous video. We're connected to Witch, Templar, and Scion, which is really good for attributes, regen, and damage. Immutable Force, I love this item. I think it's kind of underrepresented. Just tossing in a high roll Immutable Force by itself can make you effectively stun and block immune. Because we are going into block and because we have a very low life pool, we will get stunned all the time. And even with Soul of the Brine King, getting stunned every 2 seconds very reliably feels awful. And so you can just slap in an Immutable Force and become effectively stun and blocker immune, and it feels great. And then Healthy Mind up here, this gives me 1,000 mana. For the cost of 300 life, I get 1,000 mana, which is a trade-off that we take for this build. All right, and let's just go to this scene real quick, and I'm going to show you guys what a map looks like real quickly, so you can see how comfortable this build actually is. And we're going to do, we don't got time for a longer map. We're going to run a Mesa right here. Roll something good on it. One downside of this build is there are a lot of, sorry, I'm trying to go real fast here. Missing my clicks. There are a lot of modifiers that we don't like less recovery rate, can't leech, stuff like that. Sure, this one looks pretty scary. Should be a good example. The damage mods we actually don't care about because we're so tanky. You can see I have 156k EHP, even if I take off, because we have very large life pool, very good recovery, decent evasion, and with Mind Over Matter and all that, despite the low life pool, the Mind Over Matter is actually really nice. And even with the Arcane Cloak turned off, I'm still at nearly 100k EHP. Really, really solid, really comfortable. Now, you can see it's a little bit lower damage, 7.5 million DPS. That's not incredible, but I think for this investment, for being more defensively oriented, I think it is pretty darn comfortable. I am missing some fire res right here. So we're going to turn on Grace. This is the one thing that you want to do. You want to turn on Grace. We have 2 different Eternal Blessings when you're doing your regular mapping. And then you want to switch that to Wrath when you're going to fight some bosses. So just when you go in the boss room, put on Wrath, and you'll get significantly more damage. I think it goes from like 5 to 7 million DPS. Wrath is really, really big for us because it's just a 20% more damage multiplier. And yeah, the playstyle here is pretty comfortable, right? Oh, okay. Sure, we'll take that. Unfortunately, I don't really need money at this point in the league. I have 2 different curses that I am manually casting, but I don't do that on regular monsters. I can just cast 1 ball lightning. It'll destroy most pack of monsters by itself. We can even just show kind of what the Legion playstyle is like. You know, it's not incredible for Legion, right? We kind of have to go between every pack of monsters right here. I'm actually going to put Wrath on, get a little bit more damage for the Legion. But we can clear most of the Legion, and I think that's okay. People have been asking in the comments about whether I think that this is, you know, what is the best content for this build to do. And this is just an all-rounder nice build to play, I think. Very strongly defensive, respectable amount of damage, and decent clear. You know, decent clear, decent single target. It's not going to speed clear like Tornado Shot or Lightning Arrow. It's not going to, you know, one-shot bosses or anything. But basically any content that you want to do that doesn't require high damage or high clear because of the defenses, you should be able to do, like, pretty comfortably. And then I'm going to put on Wrath. I put on my, put down the Sigil. And then we just cast a couple ball lightnings and the boss is dead. And that's it. And that's the playstyle. I think it's pretty comfortable. Even without me paying attention, you could see I was never at risk of dying the entire time. With a pretty hard, like, that was a pretty hard rolled up map as well. Just to remind you what the mods are. We had double Fizzes extra. We had Fizzes Cold, Fizzes Chaos. It was Turbo, Ellie Weakness. You know, that's a pretty rippy map. And, you know, I was not even close to dying the entire time. I was pretty comfortable there. That's just the build. That's where it's at. It's very, very comfortable. And for me, I think this is a great goal to aim for. If I had a build like this a week into the league, you know, I could go against any content that I wanted to and be really, really comfortable. And I just want to share with you guys, the POB will be below. You know, again, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be scrubbed or clean. I'm just going to give you guys the gear that I have. Really, the thing that I recommend all the time is before a league starter, I want to make a video about it. The whole conversation about, like, what is bait, blah, 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 bait, 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 bait. Nothing is bait, right? As long as everything is upfront and shared. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you guys, you know, every single POB along the way. You can play the build right now. You can try it out. You know, try it at the low investment, try the different items, see if you like the build. If you don't, try the build. If you're, you know, if you're not heeding these warnings, that's on you. So yeah, I just want to share this with you. If you guys are interested in this build, I think it feels very, very comfortable. It's really fun. It's just solid all-rounder, and especially with the real defensively oriented setup, I think it's incredibly comfortable, kind of as, I don't know, kind of a competitor to the old Righteous Fire Comfort. You're basically going to be able to face tank most things, very rarely die, and you can use this to acquire more currency. You can put more into this, ramp it up really high, or, you know, just use this to farm up for something else. So yeah, I am extra excited for League Start. I have 2 hours or so to get this video edited out before I go for my flight for Path of Exile 2. So also, please, if you guys have any ideas for what you want me to interview Jonathan about, I haven't really thought about it too much. I've been too hard going in this. I actually don't really know what I'm going to talk about. I have a couple things that I want to ask him, but yeah, I would love to hear if you guys have any suggestions for topics. The big thing for me is I was a programmer and game designer, developer for a really long time, and things that we can get really deep in the conversation. I think that's kind of our unique approach that we can have there. I want to get into topics like that. So if you have anything that you think, you know, really deep game design or, you know, even programming infrastructure questions, that's kind of the direction that I'm going to be going, because I don't think anyone else is going to be asking questions like that, because it's interesting to me. And hopefully you guys find stuff like that interesting as well. But yeah, thanks for everything, guys. I hope you guys try out this build and you enjoy it as much as I do. But I'm going to go get ready for the flight after I get this video out to you guys, and I'll see y'all soon. Goodbye.